entertainment. The CRTC is directing all streaming services to contribute 5% of profits to Canadian broadcasting. Plus, $45 million that wasn't spent last year has been carried forward for major city projects in Prince George. And Northern British Columbians are helping foot the FIFA World Cup tax bill. But what's in it for them? Good evening, I'm Eddie Huband, and welcome to CKPG News. Our top story tonight, the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission announced today that online streaming services will soon have to contribute 5% of revenue to certain funds supporting Canadian broadcasters. This announcement comes amidst thousands of layoffs in the media industry. Tommy Osborne brings us the details now on what this means for the future of local broadcasting.
The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, also known as the CRTC, says Canadian broadcasters can expect more funding soon. Starting on September 1st, online streaming services that make more than $25 million a year and are not affiliated with a Canadian broadcaster will have to contribute 5% of those revenues to support Canadian content.
We've been fighting for these supports for over 15 years. The American streaming giants have been allowed to broadcast in this country without having to contribute to the Canadian broadcasting system, while our Canadian broadcasters have to contribute to the Canadian broadcasting system.
The CRTC expects this to create $200 million in new funding a year, which will be divided among many organizations and funds to support content creation for diverse communities, news stations for smaller communities, Indigenous content, and more. Of the $200 million, Unifor estimates around $60 million of that will support the Independent Local News Fund, which Kit says is much needed and long overdue support.
The media landscape over the last 20 years has just been devastating in Canada. We've lost so many jobs, so many newsrooms have gone dark.
Here in northern BC, it's too early to say how exactly this will impact us, but there is hope this will not only keep local content around, but possibly even strengthen it.
I'm hoping it will, will ultimately funnel down to the individual operations and at least keep the number of feet on the ground we have, if not build more. Time will tell what we see out of that. Obviously, it's a 2024-2025 broadcast year, so we won't start to realize this funding for about another 18 months or so.
$200 million in estimated new revenue a year is expected to help maintain and perhaps even grow local Canadian content, but Kit hopes more is done, as he says this is just one piece of the puzzle.
Currently, there's nothing for the vertically integrated stations, and they're losing money, and they're in desperate need of support as well. So the CRTC has hearings to come, and I hope there's more supports.
Among other areas, this funding will support local news on TV and radio, Indigenous content, official language minority communities, and many more. Tommy Osborne, CKPG News.
Following up now on a major story that first began in April. The mayor of Quesnel has filed a petition with the BC Supreme Court to have sanctions against him dropped. Adam Burles has more on why the mayor has gone to the highest court in the province.
On April 30th, Quesnel City Council voted unanimously to censure Mayor Ron Paul, remove him from certain committees and regional boards, as well as stripping his travel and lobbying budgets. These actions were in response to reports that the mayor's wife had distributed a book to community members that was challenging the harms of residential schools in Canada, and that the mayor himself had distributed the book at a meeting of the Cariboo Regional District. The mayor has since filed a petition with the BC Supreme Court on May 29th, and in the petition he argues that the sanctions against him are not transparent, intelligible, or justified, and are therefore unreasonable. The petition also mentions that the city breached its duty of procedural fairness towards Paul, and that the power to censure is not a tool to be wielded for cheap political gain. Paul's petition also states that council does not have the authority to prohibit the mayor from claiming expenses under its travel policy or to remove his lobbying budget. The city has declined to comment as this matter is now before the courts, and the mayor has denied the allegations towards him. Adam Burles, CKPG News.
Nearly $45 million that was not spent from the 2023 budget has been carried forward to 2024. Adam Burles has more once again on what carry forwards are and what the funds will be used for.
The city's Standing Committee for Finance and Audit met on May 24th, and one item that was discussed was carry-forwards. Carry-forwards are capital projects that aren't completed by the end of the calendar year, and the city's Director of Finance explains some of the reasons why a capital project might be carried forward.
Might be a couple of reasons for that. Maybe you hit labor shortages or a supplier couldn't meet you in time, and so you end up doing the project a year later than what you intended. Could also happen if a project is never meant to be done in 1 year. Maybe it's a 4-year project and it's going to take you the whole 4 years to do it. You just carry forward what you haven't spent until the project's complete.
One example of a project that has been carried forward is upgrades to the Aquatic Centre. Over $8.5 million was allocated in the 2023 budget for upgrades, but $8.3 million was carried forward to 2024.
We were waiting on a grant. COVID happened. We ran into labor shortages and supply problems. We also held it off for a bit because of the 2022 games that we were hosting. We didn't want a bunch of scaffolding around the building when we were trying to host the region. So, those are the kinds of reasons that can push a project a little bit further than you intended.
Other carry-forwards include the rigging replacement for the Prince George Playhouse, as well as the audio system renewal for the CN Centre. However, once Council has given their approval for the projects, it's hard to put a stop to them.
Once Council's given approval and we start moving on it, it's really difficult for Council to put the brakes on it. We've already maybe got contracts signed that we have to fulfill and we're now committed to. So the way our sustainable finance policy says is we bring the committee a list of carry forwards so that they're aware and they know what they are, but what gets carried forward and what doesn't is still within administration's ability.
Adam Burles, CKPG News.
With Vancouver being chosen as a host city for the FIFA World Cup in 2026 and 7 World Cup matches coming to BC Place, what's in it for those living outside the Lower Mainland that are helping foot the tax bill? That's a question that some are asking. Dave Branco talked to those who have raised some concerns along with a response from the government and brings us this report.
British Columbians from across the province are going to be pitching in for these games with their tax dollars. Unfortunately, what little benefit to these games there are.
Carson Binda monitors government spending closely and has estimated that the amount needed to host the games will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, with little to no benefit to those living outside Vancouver.
That means folks living in the north, living in the Okanagan, living on the island, are going to be spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these games without seeing any benefit to them or to their communities. Now that's an issue for those taxpayers who are pitching in for these games without seeing any return on that investment.
Binda says the millions of dollars planned for the games should be spent on those in need instead.
Small businesses are closing every single day because they can't afford the tax burdens placed on them by this government. Instead of supporting those small businesses with tax cuts, instead of supporting those folks who can't afford to feed themselves, to put a roof over their heads, this government is pissing away $500 million.
MLA Shirley Bond is concerned the government has a transparency issue.
How you spend taxpayer dollars, what revenue is going to be generated, what are the expectations around the FIFA event?
Bond would like to see legacies from the World Cup in communities outside of Vancouver.
I think it's incumbent on the government to speak to the entire province of British Columbia, to lay out the details, to talk about how, for example, soccer programs across the province, young people who love soccer, are there ways that we could be more inclusive with the entire province, considering all of us are helping to fund this international event.
We reached out for a response from Victoria, but they refused an interview. Instead, they sent us the following statement, which says in part, "This tournament provides an incredible opportunity to showcase our province to the world and attract more visitors to communities throughout BC." It states, "We expect communities throughout the province will want to set up local celebrations and watch parties, so there will be opportunities for people to participate outside of Vancouver." In 2022, approximately 1.5 billion people worldwide watched the FIFA World Cup final. Dave Branco, CKPG News.
June is widely known as Pride Month in Canada, a time dedicated to celebrating LGBTQ+ communities, including here in Prince George. The community has quite a history when it comes to advocacy, as one of the first ever communities to have a same-sex marriage legal in BC, when couple Tess Healy and Wendy Young tied the knot back in 2003. In 2016, Prince George City Council approved a Pride crosswalk on 7th Avenue, with the first ever Pride parade in Prince George taking place back in 1997.
So the queer community is everywhere. We've always been. You can go back centuries and millennia, and there have always been queer people. There are queer animals. So in Prince George, we have been celebrating for getting close to 30 years of the parade. I think this year is 27. And all it does is show people that we're just wanting to have fun. We're just everyday people. We have jobs, we have lives, we have families. We walk our dogs in the evening, right? And that's the message that we want to get across, is that people are okay. We are okay.
With new animals coming to the Prince George Humane Society every day, the shelter must have supplies stocked and shelters ready to go. One of the ways to make sure that they have what they need is to raise money through their annual 50-50 Ruffle Raffle. It kicks off this weekend, and Anthony Correa is here to bring you the details.
The PG Humane Society will be kicking off its Ruffle Raffle on June 7th. It's the third annual draw that the Society has done, with the opportunity to win up to $50,000. Half the funds raised will be going back to the shelter and support the animals that need it.
Recently, we've had a lot of uptake in surrenders because of lack of veterinary care. So that's increased our emergency cases that we've had to deal with. So a lot of the proceeds will be going towards making sure that we can cover these emergency expenses for the animals that are surrendered to us and the emergency veterinary bills that come from that.
The Humane Society is doing its best part to help out families who can't afford pets they've adopted. A big reason for the uptick is the lack of vets available to service injured pets.
And there's an obvious lack of veterinary care available, so a lot more people have been surrendering their pets because they just can't afford the veterinary bills. So we take in a lot of emergency cases, a lot of emergency medical cases. This raffle is crucial for us because we have received a lot more animals lately, a lot more veterinary bills, and we're also working on our humane education programs. So the funds do go a long way in helping us achieve our goals and keeping our shelter running and taking care of all the little animals that we have.
Now, even though it's called the 50-50 Ruffle, doesn't mean funds won't be going towards these little guys. Tickets can be purchased online starting at $10, or you can come down to the Humane Society and have a little bit of a cuddle sesh, and then purchase your tickets later. Anthony Correa, CKPG News.
It's a very cute cat, Anthony. Moving on, global icon Paula Abdul has announced a 2024 Canada tour this autumn. One of those stops will be right here in Prince George. She'll be joined by Taylor Dane and Tiffany. Abdul and her team will make over 20 visits across markets across the country, and Abdul and the team are set to be at the CN Centre on October 2nd. She is known around the world for her music, dance, renowned choreography, and TV personality. Tickets for the Prince George show go on sale Friday, June 7th at 10 a.m. With 60 million records sold, Abdul has earned numerous awards and recognitions. She set a record for the highest number of #1 Billboard charted singles from a debut album. This city has seen an uptick in the number of events since the height of COVID.
We're also seeing a lot of variety. So that's what's been exciting about these show announcements. We're not just seeing rock shows. We're seeing shows like Paula Abdul, which is more R&B pop. We've got Teresa Caputo, which is something totally different. It's not comedy, it's not music, it's a psychic medium. So there's all sorts of variety options. We've got a drag queen show that's coming to the Civic Center December 18th of 2024. So again, a wide array of variety for everybody. So it's a very exciting couple weeks because we're just announcing such a vast array of shows that should appeal to different crowds in Prince George.
Local comedian Alex McKenzie is bringing his Hungry for Laughs tour back to the CN Centre as well. Starring McKenzie, stunt magician Wes Barker, comedians Amos Gill, Yumi Nagashima, and newly announced special guest Chris Griffin. The show will be one night only on Saturday, November 23rd, starting at 7:30. Tickets are on sale at ticketsnorth.ca, and part of the proceeds from the Hungry for Laughs show will go to the Prince George Palliative Care Society. We had a chance to catch up with Alex to ask him his thoughts on returning home.
I'm very, very excited. It was very hard to not come and do a show as part of the Happy Camper Tour. I had quite a few people messaging like, why aren't you doing a show in Prince George? Like, why are we getting shafted, you know? And you're not coming and seeing your hometown. And it was very hard. And I was like, trying to just wait, you guys. Like, I got something really big planned. It's going to be very fun. And so, yeah, we're bringing the Hungry for Laughs tour back to the CN Centre.
Alex has just been a tremendous supporter of local comedians, and it's really fun to be part of his journey. I don't know if you've never met Alex, but he's just such a wonderful, positive, upbeat guy that we're just thrilled that he's coming back in November.
June is ALS Awareness Month, commonly known as Lou Gehrig's disease. The ALS Society of Canada is looking to raise awareness and support in ending the fatal neurological disorder. Sam Benison has more on this week's To Your Health.
And now To Your Health, brought to you by Hard Drugs, 3rd Avenue Pharmacy, and the Phoenix Pharmacy.
June 23rd is Move to Cure ALS Day in Prince George. Christy Francis lost her mother to the paralyzing neurological disorder and is walking with hopes that one day no one else has to go through the same struggles as her family.
ALS is a pretty horrendous disease for patients and their families. It wreaks havoc on the individual's body, and it's a lot of suffering. So the hope is, and there is a lot of hope, the hope is to ease the suffering of patients, to eventually end ALS.
Christy's mom initially had a hard time getting diagnosed at all, drastically reducing her quality of life in that time.
Because her ALS started in the respiratory system, it was impacting her breathing early on. By the time we got to Vancouver and saw a specialist there, he said that it was like my mom had been running 3 marathons a day. And so her diaphragm was nearly paralyzed, unbeknownst to all of us. Had she been diagnosed earlier, she could have received treatment that would have made those last days much more comfortable.
There is currently no cure for ALS, but Christy hopes that the walk can help raise money for both patient services and research being conducted at the University of British Columbia.
60% of the proceeds raised go directly to patient services for individuals and their families in BC dealing with ALS, and 40% of the proceeds go to Project Hope, so that research clinical trial center at UBC, 40% of the proceeds will go there. In a patient's lifetime of living with ALS, it can be upwards of $250,000 in terms of expenses for support services, for equipment.
The Move to Cure ALS will take place at 10 a.m. on June 23rd at the Clay Leightonnet Memorial Park. Sam Benison, CKPG News.
To Your Health, brought to you by Hard Drugs, 3rd Avenue Pharmacy, and the Phoenix Pharmacy.
As of this morning, the lowest gas price in Prince George was sitting at $1.59 per liter at Costco. The lowest price in the province right now is in Grand Forks at $1.53.9 per liter. Manitoba currently has the lowest fuel prices on average in the country at $1.39.3 per liter, while BC has an average price of $1.79.9 per liter.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Join the Domino's Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit domino's.ca to join the club.
The CHL has announced their 2023-24 All-Star and Rookie teams, and as you would likely expect, there are some familiar faces. We start with the CHL first All-Star team, which sees the Prince George Cougars forward Zach Funk on the wing. The Washington Capitals prospect finished the season as CHL's leading scorer with 67 goals. He added 56 assists as well, finishing second in scoring with 123 points total. Of note, Riley Heidt did not make the list for the other two All-Star teams. There is some Cougars representation on the CHL All-Rookie team. Tarek Parasak was named one of 3 forwards. The 2024 NHL draft prospect led all CHL rookies in goals and scoring during the season. His 105 points are most by a rookie in the CHL since the 06-07 campaign, when Patrick Kane and Sam Gagner both surpassed the mark. Sticking to hockey, the Stanley Cup Final gets going on June 8th down in Sunrise between the Florida Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers. Anthony Correa joins us now to break down this very intriguing series. So, Anthony Correa, from the Oilers side, what are your thoughts here? What do they need to do to take home the cup?
You know, there's a lot of things that they need to do. I mean, it's going to be probably their toughest matchup yet. I mean, if you look at the NHL playoffs and who the Oilers have faced, they've faced the LA Kings, who kind of snuck into the playoffs at the very end there, and then went on to face the Vancouver Canucks, who arguably was their toughest matchup. I mean, they took them to 7 games, and who knows, for Canucks fans, maybe if they win that game 7, they're in the spot that the Oilers are in right now, but that's history. And then the Dallas Stars, who was their toughest opponent before, they faced the Florida Panthers, and they ended up getting that done on home ice in Game 6 to send their ticket to the Stanley Cup Final, first time since 2006. So, you know, they got to continue doing what they're doing. A lot of people question this Oilers team on, you know, would the goaltending be there? Would the depth be there? And it's really shown in that, the last 2 series against Vancouver and Dallas that, you know, they are a team to be a threat with. And, you know, they maybe eat my words, too. I thought Dallas was going to take care of them really easy.
Well, I think you thought Vancouver was as well.
Yeah, go Canucks,
Anthony
right?
Correa. On the flip side here, how has Florida managed to get through what's been kind of a gauntlet in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Florida has their run as well. I mean, they faced arguably the best goaltending. I mean, they faced Andrei Vasilevsky, a well-known goaltender for the Tampa Bay Lightning in round 1, and then a very good goaltender in Jeremy Swayman, and the Boston Bruins in round 2, and then the league's best, Igor Shesterkin, in round 3. And Shesterkin did his best to stand on his head, but Florida's firepower just found a way to get things done. I mean, this is a team that goes off of grit, which is always a great thing to have in the playoffs. They got 4 great lines, 3 great defensive pairings, and a pretty good goaltender in themselves, Sergei Bobrovsky there. So, you know, both teams are matching up really well, and yeah, it should be a very good Cup Finals.
Reminds me of how we do our reporting here at CKPG News. Gritty, you know?
Yeah, gritty. Gets the job done.
Who do you got in the series?
I mean, I hate to go against Canada's team, but
do
think Florida Panthers will get this done in 6 games. You know, Alexander Barkov has done a phenomenal job keeping the opposing Stars under check, and I think that will be kind of the same with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Keep them in check as much as possible, you know. Don't let them overtake the series, and then, you know, they have Sam Reinhart, who has been a wonderful addition to this team. He's going to be a free agent, going to get a bag after putting up plenty of goals. And then Carter Verhaeghe is the king of clutch. He has plenty of overtime goals. For Edmonton, though, you know, you got to go off your stars. Hopefully McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard rise to the occasion. And the big question mark in this series is goaltending. Will Stuart Skinner continue his great play as of late, or will he crumble like he did early on in that Vancouver series? So I think Florida will get this done in 6, but I know Canada, or most of Canada, maybe not Canucks fans, but most of Canada is cheering for the Edmonton Oilers to win the Cup.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's always that sort of, you know, well, they beat us, but they're a Canadian team.
I would like to say the Flames fans probably are cheering for Florida as well. Battle of Alberta. I know they don't really love the Edmonton Oilers, but, you know, it's really a toss-up on, you know, Canadians and the Cup.
Anthony Correa, thanks very much.
Thank you.
The TSX is down 139 points to close at 21,978. The Dow Jones is up 140 points to close at 38,711. And Canfor went down 3 cents to close at $15 even.
Good evening again, everyone. Still chances of showers in our forecast moving into tonight and parts of tomorrow afternoon, but we will get a bit of a break in between systems. This is the look back at today, of course. Lots of clouds, showers, and thunderstorm activity in many areas across the region. Tomorrow will be our break. You'll see it here. Going into tonight, still the potential, but then there's the break. So a mix of sun and cloud is what we're looking at to begin our day tomorrow. And then this system, which is hitting the coast, we will see some instability from that, or at least a chance of through the later part of the afternoon. So we'll leave a slight chance of showers in our forecast for tomorrow afternoon and a risk of a thunderstorm in there as well. Our highs across our province tomorrow look, well, a little bit of an improvement in some areas. It's getting a bit warmer south of us. Kamloops, Kelowna starting to brighten up as well with some gusty conditions in many areas. But again, bringing in that warmer air is what these winds are doing. 17 Fort St. John. We're looking at a really blustery day up there. And again, we have sunshine in our forecast for some of the day tomorrow, but increasing cloud likely through the afternoon with the potential for showers and thunderstorms as well. Our broadcast region doesn't look too bad though. 17 Quesnel is what we're anticipating tomorrow. You're looking at Vanderhoof and Fort St. James sitting at about 15. Lots of sunny sky, at least a mix of sun and cloud is what we could see tomorrow. And again, the real drying trend begins on Wednesday. That's when we have the start of this ridge of high pressure, and it really will strengthen each and every day going into most of the later part of the week and some parts of the weekend as well. We'll see temperatures and conditions quite pleasant. 18 in Vancouver, a drier day there tomorrow. The same for Edmonton, a little warmer. And then a bit of instability through Regina, Winnipeg tomorrow with clouds, showers further east as well. Now getting a chance of showers, although staying very, very warm still in parts, especially Montreal, where temperatures have been hovering around 30, 31, 32 degrees for the last several days. It's very warm over there. Sunny sky into our late week, as I mentioned. So it's all this nice warmer air that's going to start to push in. So again, those southerly winds bringing in some of that warmer air. The extended forecast looks a little cool tonight for Burns Lake, down to +1. So again, quite chilly the next few nights, even below freezing for your Wednesday, Thursday. But there's the improvement for daytime highs, at least going into Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A few showers in the mix for Wednesday and Thursday still. Mackenzie, partly cloudy and +3 tonight, up to 15 tomorrow. A passing shower or two is possible, but we still have mix of sun and cloud in there. The same for Thursday. So these are just chances of showers sort of on and off, or at least pockets of precipitation, and then it dries out really nicely. 24 degrees Saturday. That will be probably the warmest of this ridge going forward. McBride, 3 degrees tonight, mostly clouds and showers. You're looking at a drier day tomorrow, but not a lot of sunshine, just little bits and pieces of sunshine here and there, but a mostly cloudy day. And then back to a few showers Thursday before getting that nice weather beginning on Friday. Quesnel, 3 tonight, chilly temperatures overnight still. 17 for the high tomorrow, but a really nice trend after that. And the same for us. So we do have a sun cloud mix tomorrow with a slight chance of showers in the forecast for the later part of the afternoon and a risk of thunderstorm activity again. 16 degrees for Thursday. So just a slight improvement there as that's the beginning of the ridge, but you can see a bump in temperatures come Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and a really nice sunny trend.
CKPG Sports is delivered by Domino's. Join the Domino's Lunch Club with 25% off all regular price pizzas every day. Visit domino's.ca to join the club.
The Prince George Senior Lacrosse League continued its regular season play as the SI Assault took on the BHL Bandits at Copar Memorial Arena last night. An extremely physical and back-and-forth game saw the Bandits come out on top with a 15-7 win, led by Brett Barwise, who contributed 6 of the 15 goals. Liam Miller also shined in net, turning aside 63 saves in the victory. Logan Hawk continues to shine for the Assault as he has led them on the stat sheet. The two teams combined for a whopping 179 penalty minutes, with BHL recording 113 of those. The league resumes action on Thursday, when the Devils take on the Assault. The best of the best in yesterday's sports action, all in tonight's CKP3.
Designated hitter, Reese Hoskins.
Hoskins deep left. And a homecoming for the ages for Reese Hoskins. It's 3-1. They were cheering him earlier, and now some boos, but mostly standing and clapping for Hoskins.
Reese Hoskins crushes a home run at Citizen Bank Park after spending 6 seasons with the Phillies. You know the guy was loved when a Philadelphia crowd cheers for an opposing player like that. Finally, another bomb.
Third best. This is driven to deep left center field. That's back towards the rocks and out of the yard. Home run one for Manny Machado. Good start to this Angels series. Puts the Padres on top 1-0. Home run number 6 of the year for Manny Machado.
Manny Machado sends one into the rocks in Anaheim. He got all of that one, and he takes top spot in tonight's CKP3.
That's all we have for tonight, folks. Thanks so much for joining us, as always, and we will see you tomorrow. Have yourselves a great night.